Okay, so I will be reviewing the Marvel show Moonknight once again, and I was just going to do a full review on the show after the final episode drops, but after watching this episode and the insane ending, I just knew that I had to do a review of this immediately. Okay, so the episode starts off right after the end of the third episode with Steven and Khonshu changing the sky and Khonshu being trapped into a statue. So there's this group of people in trucks with guns who we can only assume is the same cult that Arthur Harrow is in charge of and that are the main villains of the show. And Layla is not unconscious and kills all the bad guys with a flare. I like how this show is expanding more on Layla and that she is becoming more of a hero and not just there running away and not sticking up for herself. And Steven, who normally just gives up control to Mark, takes more responsibility and control over going in and out of characters. Back to the story, Layla is driving Steven to where Amit's tomb is, and Steven and Mark are bickering as usual. They arrive at their destination, and Steven reveals to Layla that Mark pushed her away so that Khonshu wouldn't choose her as his avatar, and already we can see that Layla has a better relationship with Steven than Mark, even with Mark and her not going through with the divorce. And Layla seems to like Steven more than Mark, so hopefully that plays a bigger role later on. Layla and Steven jump down a hole and reach a maze where Steven uses his amazing Egyptian knowledge to figure out that the maze is actually a symbol. They then enter a room that looks like where people are tortured and then their organs are put into jars like traditional mummification. Not long after, we hear a noise that oddly sounds like the creatures from A Quiet Place and has a mask and is all black. He stabs a guy and puts one of his organs in a jar, and Layla, being clumsy, knocks over a jar, and we have this amazing scene of the monsters crawling upside down and her shimmying her way across a thin ledge and the monster coming out of the darkness and snatching her. This is one, if not the scariest part of the show, with the monster having its hand ripped off and trying to impale her with its bone. She chucks it over her and nearly falls off and gets then confronted by Arthur, who reveals some dark history about her father and his death. We are now with Steven, who has found this sarcophagus, and it turns out to be King Alexander, and that he was the voice of Amit. So Steven reaches in the mummy's throat and pulls out Amit's statue. Layla appears and asks to see Mark about the truth of her father's death, and Steven releases Mark, and Mark assures her that he had nothing to do with it. Arthur Harrow and his goons appear, and Mark, being the badass he is, slices two guys with an axe, and Arthur just straight up shoots him, and Steven falls backwards into water. Then a clip from an old movie plays, and the main character's name is Stephen Grant. This is the point where things get weird. We see what looks like an insane asylum or mental ward or something like that, and one of the patients is Steven's boss from the museum, and also Layla. Yeah, so at this point I was questioning what was even happening, and if everything we've been watching has been real. We see the cupcakes from the first episode, and Mark in a wheelchair, unable to talk to Steven in the mirror. Mark is drugged as we find out, and he wakes up to a person that is Arthur Harrow, but not at the same time. This Arthur Harrow variant has glasses and a mustache, and isn't in his usual clothes. He also has a cane that's white, but we clearly know it's supposed to relate to the one Arthur has used in the past. Mark fights some people and runs away into a room with someone in a sarcophagus banging on it, and it turns out to be Steven. I really have no idea what was happening at this point. I was so confused on whether this was a dream or everything that has led up to this part of the episode was dreamt. They both try to run away and run into a hippo god thing, and then the episode ends. This episode was so confusing and strange that they will need a very good explanation for the next episode, because I really have no idea if Moonknight is a real hero or fake. Like I forgot to mention, but Mark has an action figure in his hand when he's in the wheelchair of Moonknight. So this is definitely need to be reviewed, because I'm sure nobody that watches... I'm sure people that watch this show have no idea what is happening. But yeah, that's about it. I know this is very short, but I just thought this was important to do. So that's all I have to say, and please like and subscribe, and goodbye.